You are watching a master at work.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever time you are watching this. This is Sam Prentice Makes Things Happen. I'm Sam Prentice, back once again making it happen, and today we're in America. In fact, we're at Tripod's garage, and in fact it's just sat just behind me, just over there, 3D printing like a machine. Anyway, we're talking about the death racers here, and we're getting ready to unveil these at the MRRF show, which is in the Midwest, in just outside of Chicago. So we're here for that. We've got a few days worth of prep. This is what we've been building, and you might have seen this online. You certainly might be seeing it on my Instagram and places like that. We're going to be talking about what they're made from, how we build them, and what the purpose of the whole thing is. And we're going to get straight on into this. Here we go.
So Death Racers, what's it all about? Well, these are competitive robots in a race format, built mainly from 3D printed files and driven by their makers. Taking these races into combat, demonstrating skills of driving, making, 3D printing adaptions, and racer design. These aspects blend into an exciting STEM development platform where you, the maker, can design how you want the racer to look and operate. So here are the points. Number 1, don't lose your head. This racer isn't just another RC car. The basics of the design is around medieval jousting. Jousting is where two knights fully decked out in heavy armour charge at each other on horseback with big sticks called lances, and they do this while trying to hit each other as hard as possible. In this design, the lance or boom is on the back of the racer attached to a giant 25 kilo servo. And as for hitting each other as hard as possible, inside the head is a kill switch. When the head is knocked off, the switch acts as a giant kill switch, disabling the racer and disconnecting the lipo power from the speed controller. Jousting was actually a sport for rich people. Knights would travel across the land to compete for money and honour. To win the joust, you just need to knock your opponent off their horse to score points by landing the best hits or breaking your lance. The sport faded away in the Middle Ages, but reappeared over the past 50 years with new competitions popping up all over the world. So number 2, let's talk about materials.
We're now following MRRF. Tripod was our victor. Congratulations,
thank you, sir.
You did very well with that race, and it does definitely go to show that slow and steady does indeed win the race, which was interesting. The thing, I think what happened mainly was I think everybody got very excited and it was just utter carnage. The elements around actually physical racing, well, that wasn't really a thing. It was more about getting away from people and trying to knock their heads off and stuff. So I think certainly as we go forward into kind of maybe a more formal race, there'd be rules and regulations that we will try and instill so we're not just smashing the hell out of each other. The other thing we saw was people like Edge of Tech and 3D Printing Nerd. They hadn't quite built it the way that we had kind of envisaged it, and meaning that is that they only used 2 walls, very small amount of infill on the drivetrains and things. You can get away with that maybe with some of the body parts and things, but certainly for the drivetrain we noticed straight away that we're going to have to up that. We want to make sure that if you're building one of these, we don't want you to fail. Anything to add there, John?
Yeah, so as I always do my prints pretty slow. I knew that these needed to be durable. Actually, my infill, believe it or not, Sam, is actually on the walls.
Right.
But it was noticing when I was assembling them that they were going fast, printing really fast. They were under extruded, and this is PLA Plus. Let's talk about the materials for the inside, right? Yeah. So I used PLA Plus. And all my accent pieces is just still PLA, which is inherently weak, but it's just accent pieces. What did you use in your drivetrain?
So obviously TPU for the tracks.
Okay.
PETG mainly for the drivetrain, because I knew from previous builds and previous things that I've done with the Michael Baddeley files, and of course these are Michael Baddeley files, that we were going to need a certain amount of strength. And certainly if two pieces of plastic are smashing against each other, you're going to need that durability ultimately at the end.
Yeah, mine was slow. Everyone knew it because I didn't have the appropriate speed control, and I was getting hit on all sides. But my ramming speed, I was trying my best to hit nose first. But the weak point is definitely the drivetrain. So beef up your drivetrain.
Cool. So number 3, we're going to talk about skills, and the skills for me certainly is going to be around STEM, and this whole project, this whole launch. The stuff that we've done with Michael Baddeley on this is basically to educate people and get the non-Star Wars community also building 3D printing racers. And I say, as you know, John, it was enormously popular at the event. We've got lots of questions, people asking where they can get the files from. So the files are available now. If you look down into the description of this video, you'll find all the files, you'll find other videos on how to build these. Make sure you subscribe to my channel as well, because we're going to be talking more and more about how to build these, strength and integrity of the robot. John will be joining me as well, and hopefully we can educate people more and more on this. So let's talk about some of the skills. We've got soldering, we've got understanding basic radio control, which was a tangible point. Cable wiring, advanced controls such as lighting. CAD design work if you decide to make your own heads or bodies or whatever, and of course engineering and lipo safety. Where do you want to start?
Let's talk about RC. Okay, so I've been in the RC industry for over 30 years. I know my wiring and everything. Ordering the correct parts. I messed up. I ordered the wrong speed control. It was just one model. It was RC at the end. I just ordered wrong and it didn't work. So I had to use 2 separate speed controls that made mine very slow, and 2 batteries. So, and also weighed it down some. But getting the right electronics is very important. Having some soldering skills is important. I got soldering tutorials on my YouTube channel, which will be right here, and that you could actually follow along. I show how to wire just connectors as well as wiring it to butt joints or twisting. And it's very, just practice first.
Yeah. I guess some of the other elements are the speed controller that we're actually using on this build is a Cytron RC speed controller. It's a 10 amp speed controller that I came across online. I've been using that on some of my bigger robots as well. I've done a couple of videos on this in the past, but I had some of these spare, so I thought I'd chuck them into these racers and see what happens. I had 3 of them spare, so we've made sort of 3 or 4 races with these. Job Telling and Jim at the Edge Tech, Pooch, also have these speed controllers, and they work very, very well. Now, like you say, there is a slowness to yours, but ultimately you still have the same motors. You have different controls in regards to your speed controller, and also a different type of LiPo battery. So we're using the S4s on the majority of these. I don't know if that's what you're going to upgrade to eventually.
Yeah, I'll do the S4s, but I'm going to increase my milliamp size. So I noticed that mine lasted the longest, so battle to the end, right? I'm running 2 batteries, two S's at 2200 milliamps. Yours was a 4S at 2500 milliamps.
Yeah.
Right? So I'm running it on 2 separate drives, so mine lasted longer. I basically doubled the milliamps. But I'd like to see if we could modify this file somehow to get a larger milliamp size. And that brings us down to actually maybe the Tarmac situation.
Yeah, sure. So the race that we did, and I thought it was going to be the best idea to race these things on Tarmac, because inherently, if you're racing them on polished floors or concrete, these things are going to skid around a little bit. Now,
I just saw, yeah.
The good point with the skidding is that you're not actually going to burn out the motors because they have free spin. With the Tarmac, it made it very, very difficult. Although they were quick and they had traction, it was almost too much traction, to a point that I'm going to disassemble, in another video that I've got coming out in the next couple of days, I'm going to disassemble the gearboxes and have a look at what's actually happened to the motors. Because certainly mine perished. And what we don't want to be doing is telling people to go and buy a certain motor and then for it to fail. But what I will say, for the past 3 months, I've been driving this thing around to death, and I've put it through its paces. You know, it was down to me to make sure that these things were going to be durable, but different surfaces is certainly going to be key to that. I've used different motors, same kind of speed controllers, same batteries, and that will obviously be in the BOM and also on our new Facebook group, which again will be down in the description.
Yeah, so what we noticed with going on, this is called asphalt surfaces, tarmacs basically for airports, it's really sticky. It launched, people were doing wheelies, all but mine, but they were sailing. I mean, they were going fast, really fast, but then turning became difficult because it was sticking while you were turning, because it's a tread for a tank. And so outside of MRRF, there's concrete there that we could possibly use for next year.
Absolutely, and don't forget the tarmac was brand new. They just laid it, so there would have been an element of stickiness to it. We kind of thought it was going to be a good background for that, and you'll see on the 16th of July, 3D Printing Nerd are going to do a whole video on this. We think this has got legs, pardon the pun, and I do believe this is going to be the new thing at a lot of these events where we're going to have these speedy races. Manufacturers got involved with this. We had Lulzbot there, E3D are doing one, Slice Engineering are doing one, and there's a lot of influencers that came up to us and said, hey, how do we get involved with this? So you're going to see more and more of these as the weeks and months go on, and I think we're going to have some really, really exciting content.
Now, do you think we should release the files earlier, or maybe have a special Facebook group for this?
We've got a Facebook group.
Oh,
it's out. It's
nice.
It's the Death Racers group on Facebook. Michael Badley, myself, and you are admins on that at the moment. And again, we do think this is going to get bigger, so make sure you subscribe to the channel. Check out Tripod's Garage as well, or Garage if you're in America. And also make sure you have a look at Michael Badley's Patreon site as well. The other thing I wanted to talk about is the radio control elements. Now, a lot of this stuff is very, very basic. FlySky is kind of the go-to on the Michael Badley group. I have a Spectrum DX6 and also a DX9i that I use for a lot of my Star Wars stuff, so R2-D2s and bits and pieces like that, and certainly for studio work, and that's the reason that I've got that type of controller. But if you're smart about this, you can buy a very cheap controller from like AliExpress for about $25. Sure, it's going to take 60 days to get here, but definitely look at those, because the overall build of material costs will be significantly reduced if you're able to buy some of these parts cheaper, obviously. If you go to Amazon or eBay or whatever, you're going to find them at an increased price, $50, $60, $50, £60 versus the £25 range that I've been looking at. And again, more content will be coming out on that in the next few days and what to use and how to do it. Is there anything else? Because Jim had a really complicated remote control.
Oh yeah,
he had a 16-channel remote control. This is Jim from Edutech, and we couldn't work out how to.
Yeah, as I said, if you need a notepad to keep track of what you're doing, it's overly complicated. The FlySky, if someone goes with this one, it's easily programmable for your mixes. So you can put everything right here, and then you can put your boom or your joust on another switch, and this way everyone can help out each other better.
Yeah.
If you do have your own remote, by all means use it.
Yeah.
You know it. We don't.
Exactly. So the other thing with this is there are two servos in the arms, so it makes the arms move back and forth. We twin that with the forward, back, left and right. We just duplex the servos on those leads. The other thing I guess I want to talk about will be around cable wiring. Now, I don't know if you want to sort of whip the top off of that.
Yeah.
The top is held on by 2 screws here, but the cable wiring, you're going to have a certain amount of soldering knowledge, or have somebody help you with the soldering if you need to do that, but also termination on things like ferrules. Now, you don't have that in yours because you don't have the Cytron speed controller, but making sure that your cabling and your LiPo battery is installed correctly and it is safe. So really, you shouldn't be charging your battery inside of these things. LiPo batteries do have a tendency to catch fire, especially if they've been thrown around and smashed up. So there is a dedicated warning here, guys. It isn't 100% safe, but they do use LiPo batteries in radio control cars. So it's not uncommon to have this kind of setup.
Yeah, it's always monitor your battery, make sure it's not swollen, because we are looking to have minimum suggestions for your battery moving forward. Also, pay attention to your connectors. You know, I was charging multiple batteries, and I thought I had enough connectors. Mine has a universal, and I have a couple dongles. But you know, actually, Sam and Tech had different ones, so I had to jerry-rig something to make it work. So make sure that you have also the battery charger.
Yep. That's
LiPo compatible with, you know, because you also have the smart plug. Is that what they call this on the side here?
Yeah, it's
balancing
plug. Yeah.
Yep, balancing plug.
So we use XT60s mainly in the UK. That's kind of my go-to, at least anyway. Joel and Tech and Pooch and those guys are going to have all the same types of batteries. So just remember, if you are going to be lending somebody your LiPo charger, you know, potentially it might be the wrong type of connector. Is there anything else here? So CAD, we just want to talk about that very basically. Michael and a bunch of other people are going to be modifying some of these files, and that's basically around the driver system. So different heads. If you have intelligence around CAD, awesome, because you're going to have a head start on everybody else. I've used Tinkercad to blend some of these models, certainly with the Joel head. Wexter designed this one for me. Check out his page, it'll be below here somewhere, I suspect. And you know, the minis worked really well with this. I also did a skull, I did a benchy head as well. But you can have whatever you want, and there will be rules and regulations about how you disconnect this head from this switch. So while you're doing that, as I said before, advanced controls such as lighting or maybe smoke or whatever, a lot of that stuff can be purchased from AliExpress. I'd be a little bit wary about going too cheap with some of the elements though. I had a RC controller that was which was basically on servo for a light to switch on, and it wasn't good. As soon as you move the robot forward, it started flickering and turning off. I bought another one from DF Robots, and that was much better, much more of a quality item.
Yeah, I had purchased lighting. I thought it would be kind of cool to have it on the bottom, so I did extensive lighting on a really nice kit. It was supposed to be activated by remote. Never worked.
So a lot of the stuff that you're going to be getting from China may be a little bit flaky. So obviously you want a solid robot here, which is one of the reasons why we use Cytron and the Pololu motors on this particular build, because what we don't want is you turning up with $100 worth of investment and it lasting 5 seconds. So there's a certain amount of integrity in the design.
So this is my setup. I'm running a 7-channel remote, which is not needed, but when you're going to be using, this comes with the FlySky, and this is, you can get this on Amazon for like $60. It's a great remote, and you know, if you buy that remote, again, a lot of us could help you with it, because it's definitely a Michael Badley type design. So in here, you'll see that you have your 2 servos. This is to operate the arms. They are split with these 2 they are split between these 2 speed controls. These 2 speed controls right here I had to use, that I had extra stock of because I ordered the wrong Cytron. And this limited my voltage to a 7.4. So I'm running 2 7.4 instead of what I wanted to run was a 14.8. So mine was considerably slower, but having the dual battery packs gave me an advantage of length of time. And again, I'm running all Dean's connectors for my my main power, and you could choose whatever connector you want. I would suggest you do something that's high voltage. These are my wires for a LED system that I put underneath that worked for a little bit and then died. And plus, you wouldn't have seen it outside anyways. It didn't really matter. It was just an added flare. And customize it how you want. I did hydrographics. You know, I dipped this, and these are skulls on here. Came out rather nice. Here's your kill switch up here. It's on there really good. And then off with the head, with the boot. Pretty simple wiring, but the problem is with this design, the more you add, the less space you have. And it really, you are crammed with space. You don't get much. So we might be looking at reaching out to Badley to see if he can make it a little bit wider to give us more space for electronics. But pretty simple. You got your motors that are buried on the sides here. Pan to yours.
Yeah.
And then the TPU tracks.
Good.
Yeah.
So I'm Sam Prentice. This is John from Tripod's Garage. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. Check out John's channel as well. The links for everything are going to be below. Thank you once again to Joel Telling, David, Jim at Edge of Tech. Pooch and all the guys that we've been involved with, and also Michael Badley for putting out this fantastic design. You're a top guy, and keep tuned in, guys, because this is going to be amazing. Thank you. Goodbye.